Hi, it's your old pal Slim, and this is 70mm, a podcast for film lovers just like you. Every Monday, I chat about recently watched movies with my close friend and artist, Danny Haas.
The finale of this movie, the final act, I was like leaning forward in my chair. I couldn't get enough of this finale.
And our spiritual advisor and movie insider, Alexis.
That's what people want, though. People want to be horny. They want to watch horny movies.
Our featured discussion later in this episode kicks off HAUNTVEMBER with Danny's pick, Poltergeist from 1982. Feel free to use the chapters in your podcast app to skip right to that discussion. With Poltergeist, do the Amblin vibes keep the magic alive for this all-ages horror movie? Or are ghosts and the paranormal just a bunch of mumbo-jumbo? Let's find out together. Last week, we had our vacation, and we recorded 2 episodes together in the same room. We recorded an Andor episode, pilot episode for our supporters, and a Twin Peaks episode. We were in the same location. How about those recordings? You know, we had those episodes done and dusted in an hour, and an hour later, they were out, into the world.
It was fantastic to sit in the same room and be able to record. You know, we thought about how can we make this happen
Bigger.
Bundle them up.
Yeah.
You know, we did 2, but we were thinking, why not more? How much could we do if we really sat down in front of a TV and watched a lot of things and then recorded?
We could knock our whole year out.
Yeah.
Should we pull the curtain back even more? I mean, we were brainstorming.
Ooh.
I don't even know how to interpret that noise. Ooh. We were planning, what if we do hang out for a weekend and we spend, let's say we travel somewhere, East Coast, obviously, we're on the East Coast.
Yeah.
We travel somewhere, 70mm Summit. We get up early Saturday.
Oh my gosh.
What if we just record for the whole day? We get a year's worth of supporter episodes done in 24 hours, Proto.
God, we just get a stack of, breakfast egg muffin sandwiches. You get some scrapple. You get some bacon.
Scrapple.
You get a pot of coffee.
Oh.
Just watch some.
Keep
watch
the
some
pot
TV.
on, we'd be saying to the back. Keep the pot on.
I need a warm up.
Dale just serving it up.
Nobody Googles scrapple. It's probably so gross, whatever that's made out of. The ass of a pig of some kind. I don't know. The innards. We also planned, what if we bring our lovely wives on the trip? We record during the day. We ghost hunt at night. Is this the greatest weekend in the history of humanity?
Gosh.
It's got to be, right?
It's looking that way.
Yeah. Shaping up.
So we have Andor in the can and Twin Peaks. If you're a supporter on Patreon, Apple, or Spotify, you can listen to those episodes. And real quick, before we move on, we should say hello to some new friends on our Patreon. John, Tom, James, Pat, Ocean Ghoul, Colin, Jacob, Jonathan, and Joseph. A lot of J's in that list. They all joined
Big week.
since we were last recording together. They got access to our uncut episodes, the Discord, the Vault, 30 plus episodes in there, as we just mentioned.
Pat's here tonight.
No.
Hey, Pat.
Pat in Discord tonight. Do we want to talk about Proto watching a vampire movie? We're in HAUNTVEMBER, and Proto is dropping logs on vampire movies on Letterboxd.
I had to get a login before the show. And I was looking at my Letterboxd watch list, and I was doing what everyone should do in October. You take your watch list, you filter by horror, filter by streaming, of course, as well.
Of course.
And I was looking in there, and I was looking at what did I have? So I have a few vampire movies that I'm going to try to get to. I have the Tony Scott's The Hunger. I got the what's the other one that's on there? One second,
The Addiction.
please. Well, the Addiction's the one I watched, but there's I want to get his name right. Is it Chan-Woo Park who did The Handmaiden? He has a vampire movie called Thirst. That was the one I was going to watch, but then I just wasn't in a subtitle mood the other night. You know, when you want to sit down to watch a movie, but you don't want to have to read. Danny knows what I'm talking about.
100% know what you're talking about.
Yeah, I just didn't feel like it. So, but I had The Addiction on my list, which is directed by Abe Ferrara, who he had another movie that I watched earlier this year. I think it was Miss 45. Yeah, I watched that in May of this year, which was a banger. If you haven't seen it, great movie. But The Addiction, it's a vampire story. It's about a philosophy graduate student who was walking home one night in New York City and gets bit by a vampire and turns. It seems like most of Ferrara's movies are set in New York City. So it's very much of the city of the time. This was made in 1995, but man, this movie was so good and so much fun. I mean, it looked incredible. It's black and white, spoilers also. And also, I know not for everyone, black and white, but I had the greatest time with it. It was like the perfect movie, I think, to set off. It was, I love vampire stories, and especially ones that get away from the Dracula, story. Like how many times has that played out across my screen?
Dracula.
Too many. So just having someone have a original vampire story to me is great fun. And just kind of like the themes that it revolved around and like the question it was asking. And all of this guy's movies, they're always under 2 hours. This was 82 minutes.
Oh my word.
So, I mean,
Goodness.
you started and before you know it,
excuse.
it's already over. Yeah, it's fantastic. So I gave it 4 stars.
Quote, is this the greatest vampire movie I've ever seen? I think was the review. I have this Blu-ray under my TV. I've yet to take the saran wrap off. This was I don't know, I guess this
White
was
elephant
like
gift.
No, I did not get that as a gift. Abel Ferrara, King of New York. Have you seen that with Walken?
I haven't. No, but I remember you watching it.
I have seen
You didn't
that.
like it,
Body
right?
Snatchers. He did that kind of like remake of Body Snatchers, which has this iconic screaming scene in it.
You love a good scream scene.
How was Walken in this?
Walken has a small part. It's maybe 10 or 15 minutes in the movie. But it's great. He has kind of like a scene that he comes on for in the middle of the movie. And then he's gone for the rest of it. But he's a perfect, a perfect casting for this role. That's all I'll say.
The scene in Body Snatchers is when like one of the characters talks to someone who's trying to evade them. She's like, "What are you gonna do? Where are you gonna go?" So good. Just go on YouTube and watch that clip. It's amazing.
Roberto, you should add, if it's not on your watch list, A Girl Walks Home Alone at Night for the vampire movies.
I've heard mixed things about that, I feel like.
Mixed.
Well,
you have...
It's a mixed bag.
You shared a letterbox list of movies that you're thinking about choosing for HAUNTVEMBER this month, our spooky season. And Bram Stoker's Dracula was on there at one point. Is it still on there?
It is still on there.
Oh.
Yeah. That can't be the pick.
Yeah,
it could be the pick.
It could be.
I watched it this week.
You didn't give it a star rating,
That has nothing to do with what I'm doing.
Oh.
You also have Hellraiser on there.
Oh my God.
Yeah, I do have Hellraiser on there.
Extremely horny movie.
Oh.
Yeah.
Really?
Extremely. Don't watch that with your fam.
That's what people want, though. People want to be horny. They want to watch horny movies.
The amount of DMs I'm getting, please
Horny
make
ween.
70mm more horny.
Really?
It's-
Release the
it's-
DMs.
I would never release DMs.
I
It
need to
goes
see
against
these.
all the core of my being. I refuse. Danny, did you watch anything? You want to talk
I
about this
watched Dracula. I watched it this week, and it was insane. I had never seen this movie, and then anytime Gary Oldman was on screen, all I thought was you, Slim. I feel like you quoted this movie so much that I kept picturing you as Gary, and it just drove me nuts. I feel like you've quoted this movie out the ass, and here I am watching it, and all I could think of is you while I watch
I'm surprised
this
I haven't
film.
seen any face app of
I
me
need
wearing
to.
that red gown with his hair up.
What a movie. And on top of thinking of you the whole time, we have Keanu doing his British accent, and it is unreal.
Yeah.
This movie is bonkers. I had a great time watching it. I really did. But one movie I definitely want to talk about I watched was Chloe Okuno's Watcher.
Oh, yeah.
I watched that on Shudder, and someone had tweeted like, this felt very like a Hitchcock movie. And I'm like, well, I'm into that, so I'm going to watch this. And what a gorgeous film and a great little story. I mean, I had a great time watching it. It has that Rear Window vibe to it with a little bit of stalker killings, and but it's just a great little story in Romania, and I loved it.
I loved
What a good
how
movie.
she moves to Romania with her husband who speaks the language, makes friends. They have like a dinner party at the house.
Yeah,
But they don't translate when he is
No.
speaking to the friends in front of her. So you feel like annoyed with
when
her
she's getting
and like
frustrated,
out of
yeah.
the loop. Yeah, it was
Yeah.
pretty cool.
Yeah, it was a good movie. I had a great time watching it.
Micah Monroe.
Micah. Yes. And then I fired
Long-time
up The
friend of the
Witch. The Vitch.
Oh my God, what a week.
What a week. 3.5 stars. Had a good time. It's a little slow.
Mm-hmm.
I loved the ending. But I wanted more of that in the movie, I think. If you've seen the movie, you know what I mean. There's a little bit, I just wanted more witchiness in the movie, I think is what I wanted. But it's a good movie. I really enjoyed it. And then I turned off the Munsters from Rob Zombie because it sucked.
DNF.
Could not finish it.
Wow.
Sheesh.
Is that
Absolutely
streaming
horrible.
somewhere?
Yeah, Netflix. It's a Netflix
Netflix?
John.
Oh boy.
This movie has gotten a very strange release. I think it was on Blu-ray before it even hit Netflix. I don't know what the
It
heck
was?
happened behind the scenes with this movie. No idea.
Pack it
Also,
up, Rob.
isn't it Universal? Why isn't this on?
I don't.
Is
Yeah.
it Peak? Just rename the app Universal, please. I'm tired of it.
Yeah. Sorry.
It's okay.
That was my week.
Josh says, "Speak no evil." 70mm ep when? Never. I would
Oh,
never
God.
want to force anyone to watch that movie.
Oh,
I want them in prison. Everyone
that's a new
involved.
one that you watched, right? I
Yeah,
think I caught your review on
I
that.
should have researched further.
I'm reading you loud and clear. Wink.
Mm-hmm.
Reading the tea leaves.
Thank you. Every week, we give out a free year of Letterboxd Pro to someone who shares the show on social media, gets rid of ads. You can see where those movies are streaming. You can find out where Dracula is streaming. You can watch it. I think it's getting a 4K release soon.
It is.
Remember. I'm going to read an iTunes review. And whoever left this review, send us an email to 70mmpod@gmail.com to claim your winnings. This is from Liao CA. Leia LCA. I'm not sure what to say for that username. But listening to this podcast is like hanging with your three best friends who introduce you to new films and make you giggle for an hour straight. I love their dynamic, and this quickly shot to my top 5 podcast list. I actually won't stop telling people about it. In a sea of underwhelming voices in the pod world, this one is worth every minute. 70mm is something special. Protect this pod at all costs.
Oh my gosh.
Wow.
Beautiful review.
What
Thank
a great
you.
review.
Beautiful. Thank you for this kind of.
I need to know the other 4 podcasts.
It's Film Hags, it's Lost Light, it's Twin Vipers, We should call out Twin Vipers. Jonesy, who was on our Indiana Jones and the Last Crusade episode, longtime friend of ours, and Fam, another close friend of ours, just started a podcast about martial arts and action movies. So if you have that itch to scratch, search up Twin Vipers in the episode notes and start listening to their pod. What do I want to talk about? I want to talk about? I'm looking.
Tell us about this Bad Taste movie.
Oh, yeah.
Oh my God.
Bad Taste.
Peter Jackson. Peter Jackson. He was in his mid-20s making this movie in New Zealand. It's just about, it's so goofy. It's like New Zealand Evil Dead. You know how like Evil Dead has like do-it-yourself vibes, very grimy, but super cool, well-directed. Like the person behind the camera has some vision and some style. It feels like that. So these group of dudes who uncover an alien invasion, and they look like regular people, but they're wearing denim. So they fight and they have to like get to this location to beat the head alien before it gets too crazy. And apparently the story goes, Peter Jackson and his friends just filmed this movie on weekends themselves. And he was I think he was like 23 or 24. And it's so fun. The reason I watched it is because we interviewed Ty West, the director of Pearl and X, and this was one of his 4 faves for the Letterboxd show. I loved it. If I said in the show, if I had seen this movie when I was a kid, I probably would have wanted to make movies, because I can see like these young people making that with nothing on weekends, and it's so fun. It still holds up. It's so cool. Like, see how they did the stunts. Like, there's one scene with a rocket launcher, and they shoot it, and it's like pretty obvious that the rocket is on like a string, across the yard, and you can see it just like go. But it's so cool that like they did that. There's also a scene where the head alien guy who's like posing as a human is upstairs in a room, and the camera's looking at him, but there's a light in the room, and you see his shadow, but he just moves closer to the light to make it seem like he's getting bigger and changing into alien form. It's like tons of cool, innovative things when you don't have the technology that it just spoke to me on like a huge level. So it's on Tubi right now, and Hoopla. So I definitely recommend it. Also, he plays 2 roles in it. He's in it. Peter Jackson. Should we talk about our movie?
I think it's time.
Our movie, this is Danny's. Whose pick is this?
You're right.
Danny's pick. You traded up the draft.
Traded up.
Poltergeist. Toby Hooper. Hooptember. It's happening right now. I don't know the backstory of Hooptober. Toby Hooper allegedly directed this. Maybe it's true. Maybe it's not. This is streaming on HBO Max. There's a 4K release that just came out. Frodo, what's Poltergeist?
Steve Freeling sells model homes in sunny California. Him and his wife, Diane, along with their 3 kids, live in one of these homes. But when objects begin moving on their own, and their youngest daughter, Carol Ann, starts talking to the static on the TV, the home and neighborhood begin to look less idyllic. Then, when a kid gets sucked into the closet and deposited into some phantasmal holding space, we know it's not ideal. The Freelings will stop at nothing to get their kid back, even hire a Ewok-looking spiritual medium to cross the divide and pull their child out of the jelly. Poltergeist.
My word. Vicious.
Jesus Christ.
Danny, was this your first viewing? This was,
First
right?
viewing. Yeah, I wanted to watch it a couple years ago. I mean, obviously this is its 40th anniversary, but
Cripes.
I didn't do horror movies. I've said it before, but I wanted to wait this one out because I figured we'd watch it at some point on the podcast. So no better time than now.
1982. I have seen this countless times.
Really?
I think. Yeah, I remember seeing it. Maybe it was like a tape rental when I was a kid. So I have vivid memories of the tree, the clown.
Yeah.
Like I'm right in the time frame where this is probably where your scarring of clowns comes from. Maybe.
I bet, for sure.
What about you, Prado?
I've somehow avoided, I think, all mentions or even scenes from this movie. I think, the clown was recognizable, but I didn't know it was from this movie. So yeah, I got to 2022 without really knowing anything about Poltergeist other than seeing the cover, of course, and the TV and the clown.
Craig T. Nelson.
in
peak physical condition in this movie. Can we talk about that? And Adonis.
Yeah,
that's amazing.
That scene where he went into his daughter's room without a shirt on, like he was like in his
PJs,
jammy pants. Yeah,
from Target.
It felt like I felt like I don't know, like just put a shirt on, Craig. I don't know I just felt uncomfortable seeing him without a shirt. The amount of hair, like he's a well built man.
Crash is asking about JoBeth. JoBeth, call me, please. JoBeth. I'd love to go out, a walk on the boardwalk, just to chat. We can hold hands, as friends. JoBeth is an absolute fox in this movie.
Mamma mia.
But we need to get into our discussion, our round table. Top threes all around the room. We jot down some notes for this viewing. And since this is Danny's pick, Danny, you're going to lead us off.
Okay, let me just see where I want to lead us off with. Let's talk about Heather O'Rourke, the little girl in this film. Okay. I couldn't get enough of her. She was creeping me out from the get-go. When she first walks down the stairs. She walked down the stairs? Yes, because Craig is sleeping. Her first interaction with the TV. And she's like talking back to it.
Yeah.
And you don't know what it's saying to her. And I was hooked right away from that. Like first of all, I was having a stroke from the strobing lights because that was insane. But I loved her in this film. She was amazing.
Mm-hmm. It's creepy. Like if you walk downstairs and your daughter or child is talking on the TV like that,
they're here.
I might move right then, like right off the bat. This is too much, Carol Ann. Please.
Yeah, that'd be unnerving. Yeah, I was getting Albin vibes. This little girl, Carol Ann's, reminded me of my own son.
Oh no.
Yeah, but your son would probably throw the TV across the room and end this right away.
Right.
Yeah. I don't know if he would put up with people talking to him through a TV or not.
No.
There's also like I was going through my notes. I mean, the "they're here" line.
Yeah.
Like that has, surpassed the movie, at least in my opinion, and hit, pop culture for decades. Do you remember that line when you were watching it? Did that like ring any bells when she actually said it?
Yeah, it did. Does the girl in Signs say that? I was trying to think of I feel like I've heard that exact line as an homage.
Do we need to do Signs again? Signs
Should
Redux?
We? Oh man.
Fudge.
One last ride.
Yeah, Megan points out in chat, she does appear in the other Poltergeists. Unfortunately, she died very young. She had some health issues.
She died during the third movie, the third Poltergeist, because they diagnosed her with Crohn's and was treating her for Crohn's, but that's not what she had. She had some other birth defect on her intestines, and it ruptured and she died during the making of Poltergeist 3.
Jeez.
And the director was so close to her that he refused to finish the movie, and whatever company was forced him. So the end of Poltergeist 3 is like a body double with a blonde wig on. And he said it was the creepiest thing he ever did.
Oh my God.
Yeah, Tom Skerritt and Nancy Allen were the main leads in Poltergeist 3. I watched that, and I think Carol Ann lives with her aunt and uncle to try to escape the ghost that was chasing her.
Yeah. I mean, on Shudder, there's a whole episode on cursed films, and Poltergeist, the whole trilogy is on there to talk about it.
Skip that?
I mean, maybe. Dominic, the older daughter in it, she was murdered by her boyfriend as well. And Dominic Dunn is this younger sister of the other actor in American Werewolf in Paris.
Should we end the show right now? We have to power through it. Let's recalibrate. We have to turn this car around right now. What's my number one? I love Craig T. Nelson and JoBeth together. Their marriage in this is dynamite. I love it. They're hanging out. They're smoking marijuana in their room.
Rolling joints in their bed.
In their bed. They're laughing. They're cracking each other up. He's reading Reaganomics or whatever the hell he's reading that book in front of the TV. True Lies was our last episode, right? This is back-to-back marriage banger movies. I love it. I need more, I don't want to say like, with married couples, but like, I think the casting really helped out. Like their charisma together.
Yeah.
It's just great. I love seeing them interact together on screen.
Mm-hmm. I had my notes. I see your nuclear bomb kiss and raise you kissing in front of spectral light in a closet scene. I'll take that over the
ectoplasm all over your face or whatever that was.
What a shot.
I don't know if I've seen JoBeth in anything else. I'm looking at her movies now. I mean, Jungle to Jungle. I saw that.
Oh my.
But I don't remember her.
Wyatt Earp.
I mean, yeah, she has some serious movies, but yeah, she was kind of like new to me. Yeah, what a relationship.
How about sorry to interrupt. You do the math. She had her eldest when she was 16. That's when she first had her daughter. Because she says, like, I think either he's talking about how old she is, she's 32, and she's 16.
Oh gosh.
So you do the math. Maybe like when they were getting prom king and queen crowned, she was popping that baby out.
Craig, please.
Wow. Your math is
back
correct.
Different times.
Thank you. It's a very rare occasion when my math checks out.
Well, you had time to prepare. So.
I mean, just related to their marriage, the scene where he is like, she's going into the upside down essentially, and she's tied with the rope.
Steven! Don't let go! Never!
He shakes his head. There's just some really great marital moments in this movie that just still hold up for me. Pardo, what's your number one?
My number one is, this had a lot less horror than I was expecting. And I think horror in a sense that I thought of like me being scared of what I was watching. When I turned this on the other night to watch it, my oldest daughter, she came up and she was like, "Hey, what are you watching? Can I watch it with you?" And I was like, "No, you can't watch it. It's a horror movie. It's scary." Like but like when you're old enough, I'll watch it with you. But as I was watching it, I thought, man, she definitely could have watched this with me. Like, except for maybe the one scene where the dude has like the vision of him like ripping his face off.
Oh my God.
That was like the only scene that like to me like crossed the line of like, whoa, this is way over the top. But everything else, it felt very much like Amblin does a horror movie. Yeah. Like the Amblin vibes were off the charts in this to me.
I love that melting face stunt too, because you almost like feels obvious that the person's hands are not connected to the body. So like the angle of the hands moving just don't fit where the head should be.
The snapback is so good though. When he snaps out of it, really love the comeback to it.
Yeah, I was thinking about the same thing with James. I asked him if he wanted to watch Poltergeist, scary movie, and he said no. But I mean, I don't know. Maybe my memories aren't right, but I just feel I was very scared by this movie. And I wonder if James would be still now considering what he's seen elsewhere, like on so many other screens, where like maybe this isn't as scary to him, where like my entrance into horror anything was probably this and like other movies. Otherwise, you're not seeing horror or scary things anywhere else. Like he's got YouTube doing goofy fake prank shows, and you're getting almost kind of like immune to jump stuff. I don't know.
Yeah, I watched it with Olive. She's 14 and she loved it. She just was like, it was just gross. It wasn't scary.
Yeah. Well, also, I think when we were younger, we would maybe catch something on TV, and we had no idea what we were necessarily watching either. It's like, oh, this thing is on TV. Let me watch it. Little did we know we're watching a horror movie. Whereas now, like anything, the kids watch, they can know beforehand what is, or if if we're sitting down to watch a movie with them, where I guess my kids could, just come across something and watch it. But at this point, they're not seeking these kind of things out. And, no algorithm is handing them horror movies.
Right. Also, the idea that like the only thing you'd know about the movie Poltergeist is the VHS sleeve and whatever is on the back. Like that's all you got. That's it.
Yeah.
Danny, what's your number 2?
The practical effects in this movie were like chef's kiss. I loved them so much. The tree coming through the window and grabbing the boy, but also starting to swallow him was incredible. I didn't expect that aspect of the tree to be happening. How
about when he had tree blood on him?
The sappy tree blood. Like, what is happening right now? The like esophagus looking closet at the end.
Yeah.
And then what else was it? Like the guy picking his face off in the mirror was disgusting, but looked incredible. I know you watched both versions this week, Slim, but the only thing that threw me off in this was when the investigative team first opens the kid's room and all of the stuff is flying around the room. It looked absolutely terrible in 4K. Like it was the one time I'm like, holy shit, that looks bad. When I watched the other version this week, it didn't look as bad. It wasn't as jarring as the 4K version. But other than that, so much of this film holds up really well. And I was just instantly thinking of Stranger Things with the rope going through the upside down. Like that I didn't even realize that was from this movie, or that was like a callback to this. But what a scene.
Me neither. I wrote in my notes, did they invent the upside down in Poltergeist? I kind of like forgot that this was, such a big part of the plot. That one scene in the room doesn't hold up. Probably still looks great on VHS though. No, in 1080p.
It did feel like almost like a demo for ILM. It's like, here's everything we could possibly do. And they were just having so much fun doing it. I remember that ILM doc that's on Disney, when it showed the scenes of them working on Poltergeist, it just did seem like that. Like they were in, just kind of like firing on all cylinders. Everyone's just like revved up. Like what could we do in this movie? And just having the time of their lives, coming up with these effects.
I mean, it's really true. I mean, if you think about it, it looks like they threw everything at it that they could do. The giant matte painting of the cemetery on the hill looked incredible.
Oh my God.
Oh, yeah.
My God.
Kiss me. It was so
Jeez.
good. And there's just everything in this film. It's nuts.
Yeah. That was like one of my main things was that matte painting. Oh my God, it's so gorgeous. I mean, that entire...
Where are these paintings? I need to see these
We need
paintings.
them on display. Presley, do you have these paintings in your basement? God, I took so many notes. How about that Vader poster in that one in the bedroom?
All the Star Wars stuff in that room.
How gorgeous was that
kidding
thing?
me?
Presley, do you have that poster? Presley?
Yes. It is the OG Star Wars one up there too.
It's amazing. It looks so cool.
Yeah, and the alien poster Paul said.
What do I want to talk about for my number 2? We haven't covered a paranormal movie, right? Like in a while, maybe? Like a ghost movie?
Have we?
I don't know. Babadook, Paul says, but I don't consider that
Blair
paranormal. Blair Witch. But this one has like a clairvoyant in it.
Oh,
they have these quote unquote ghost hunting people. But it's like grounded in like a pseudo scientific thing. Like they come in and they bring in all these TVs. Oh my God, those TVs are gorgeous. This is my other note about that kitchen TV. I need a kitchen TV. Like maybe like another like a sub business we can get into is retrofitting those things. Just put like a small tablet in there so that you have like a faux old school CRT mini TV. I'm going on a tangent, but in terms of this age, like your dad falling asleep watching the TV with like a beer in his hand, like do people even do that anymore? Do you fall asleep to the TV in the living room and then like have to pick yourself up at 1 a.m. to go to bed?
There's no time to fall asleep.
The intro with the guy riding the bike with the beers was unreal. And then getting into the room with all the dads or all the grown men watching this football game. And the one guy saying, I have my life's savings riding on this game or something. He shouts at him like, how? Like, why? And it's like, it doesn't matter if you watch it or not. You've still bet all your money. It was just, that whole bit was hilarious with the remote controls. I liked how that was like playing into the fact that there's other things that could be causing stuff inside this house messing up. Like you have the kids with the remote control cars that are driving them around, causing this guy to wreck. And then you have the neighbor with the remote messing up the TV next door. Like there's all these other outside things that you can explain the phenomenons that are going on in this house. I thought that was kind of a smart way to start the movie off.
That guy 100% had a DUI. That's why he's riding his bike with that beer.
That's why he had a bike.
Last week, he probably got pulled over. But yeah, the paranormal stuff, like there was so many scenes like too, after they see what's going on in her bedroom, like they go downstairs and they're having like a mini discussion, like, you know, that could be the humidity from the roof expanding the tiles, or it could be a, you know, car starter down the street making all this noise. Like, what? Did you not see what you just saw in that bedroom? Like, what are you trying to debunk at this point with science? It's over. Like, it's happening in front of you. I also loved how like dated the kind of like ectoplasm was for so like good. Ghosts. Like,
so insane.
That left the 80s and never came back after that. I think that stayed in the 80s. Pardo, number 2.
And my number 2 is just the amount of weird bits in this movie that don't happen anymore. The one was the beer run that Danny mentioned. It's just so insane. This guy drops like, you know, 20 cans of beer and only like saves 4 of them, and they're spraying it's just so insane.
All over the room.
It just makes no sense. But there's a few moments in like, there's the other scene where I think someone's working in the backyard. He's like at the window and there's the soup on the stove and he picks up the ladle and he just like takes a taste like right there out of the bowl.
Yeah.
And I'm just thinking like, what is this guy? I would slap this guy into next week if somebody did this to whatever, you know, sauce my wife was making there. Yeah,
what's that guy? His name was like Blorko or something. Do you remember like the Mayor Joe by the like Blorko, get back out there? I mean, also there was the scene too right after that where the daughter goes and leaves. Oh my God. And they're hooting and hollering like, oh baby, I'm in love with you. And the mom is like in the kitchen, just kind of observing her, flipping them off. And she's like approving, like, yeah, that's my daughter. Like, why did you get these dudes out of here? Like what a difference 40 years makes, I guess. Like that would just, those dudes would be like arrested. Probably.
Yeah. 100%.
The other thing was the guy. So the paranormal crew is at the house and they're setting everything up. And at one point, the one guy, the camera guy, he stops to get something to eat. He goes into the fridge and he pulls out like a whole steak and slaps it down on the countertop. Like, what are you doing? And like, who wrote these scenes? Like, in what world does this make any sense? But it's definitely like a thing of this time period where movies just have like these weird behaviors from character. And I love it. I just don't know like what caused it or like where that went in movies.
He's ruffling around their fridge. He's eating the fried chicken. I mean, if that was my bucket of KFC and I saw this ghost hunter, slow down, pal. Okay? You can have some potato chips and leave the meats alone. Please. It's not yours. How about the old school Cheetos bag, though? The design of that bag.
God.
Frig me. Danny's number 3.
the finale of this movie, the final act, I was like leaning forward in my chair. I couldn't get enough of this finale. First of all, we've already gotten the child back out of the paranormal.
It's fixed.
The idea that they would spend the night and put their kids back in this room to sleep again.
Oh, yeah.
After however long that they had been watching, like she opened the door and there's like a scream, or they would open the door and there's stuff lying around. But let's just put our kids back in for one last ride tonight.
Back.
We'll put our kids to bed, and it all happens again. The clown wakes up. This was in the Cursed film too. That clown animatronic thing, when it chokes him, it actually like malfunctioned and really choked out that kid.
It looked scary, just like that thing
when it
wrapped
pulled him
around
under
like
the
a
bed.
snake.
Anyway, that whole scene, Craig's incredible, and it's screaming. When she's going down into the pool and all of the skeletons are coming up, and it's just that whole final act is like, it's what you signed up for with this movie. Like this is what I was hoping would happen. The coffins bursting out of the ground.
Yes.
Incredible. And then when he grabs his boss and he's like, you moved the headstones, but you didn't relocate the bodies. He's just yelling at him. Like that whole scene is incredible.
You just moved the headstones. Losing his shit. Oh my God, it's so
Losing his mind. It's incredible stuff. I mean, I couldn't get enough of that ending.
The fact that JoBeth ends up in the pool outside, like her kids are being attacked in a bedroom. I can just imagine like Craig T. Nelson, later on is like they're debriefing at the Holiday Inn or whatever. Like, wait, so how did you end up in the pool outside in the rain? Like, I still don't understand why she was in the pool at this point.
Yeah, they're smoking in the bathroom of the Howard Johnson hotel room, laughing it up in there, kind of recounting what happened. I fell in, honey. I fell in. Yeah, the scheme of them moving the headstones and just building over the bodies, which I guess none of these houses had basements at all, that otherwise they would have probably ran into that stuff. Yeah, I love it. And I think The Simpsons did a famous parody of this.
Of course.
In Treehouse of Horror. Maybe I'll loop in the scene.
Loop it.
But I think I saw The Simpsons. In most movies, I've seen The Simpsons parody first, then the actual thing they're parodying. And in this Treehouse of Horror, they move into this house and they find out that it's like built on an Indian burial ground. And Homer calls his like realtor. He's like, Mr. Plute.
Homer Simpson here. When you sold me this house, you forgot to mention one little thing. You didn't tell me it was built on an Indian burial ground. No, you didn't. Well, that's not my recollection. Yeah, well, all right, goodbye. He says he mentioned it 5 or 6 times.
But I love the idea that all the dead bodies are under these homes. It's so cool.
Yeah.
It's so the scene, like when Frank comes in sees like the house exploding and stuff, and he's like freaking out. Oh my God, it's so rad.
When JoBeth gets possessed in that room, it looks like she's getting on top of the room and she's getting levitating. The idea that they had that rotating room at ILM, it looked incredible. It looked like she was really like up onto the ceiling. I couldn't, it looked perfect. Incredible stuff.
There's also a cool scene where she goes upstairs and that like wolf ghost dog or whatever is like yelling at her, and it zeroes in on her face with her hair flying behind it. And she has that like horrified yell and face. That is one of my favorite shots of the whole freaking movie. My number 3. Gosh, I have so many notes. This is a goofy one, but one of my favorite scenes is when they finally do agree to like get the kids out of the house. They send their son in a cab.
A taxi.
In a taxi cab. He's walking around with a suitcase. It's like he's going to work. And they stand at the front of the house. The kid walks to the cab down the street. They don't go with him. She's like, call me. And then the dog goes in and goes with the boy, and then he just drives off. One of the weirdest, that maybe this is back to Proto's 80s weird moments line, but like, what a strange exit for that boy.
So weird.
Even Olive, while watches, asked me if people did that. She's like, people did that? And I'm like, I don't know. I was never shipped off in a taxi anywhere.
Call me okay. I think on my first viewing, my 1080p viewing, I kind of zoned out once the clairvoyant shows up. I feel like the movie kind of...
She's great, though.
I don't know. At least at this stage of my life, at this amount of viewings with this movie, I kind of just zone out when she is in there. Her scenes are kind of long, and I'm just like, this isn't as fun anymore. What do you think, Proto?
Yeah, well, that's kind of my third point is kind of just overall I feel like the story just kind of falls apart in the second half of this movie because it feels like there's something there. It's like, all right, Carol Ann is on this other side. There's others, ghosts there. There's people there, but then there's this darkness, this dark presence there as well. And I was like, oh, okay, like there's something else happened here. But then by the end of the movie, there's like no explanation to it or like what was really happening, or is there a story behind like this evil dark presence that's with her? There's no like confrontation with it. It kind of just like turns into like just fireworks, a special effects, smorgasbord at the end. And there's nothing really there in terms of an ending with the story. And it kind of drove me crazy, this whole light thing. Like the light, don't look at the light. No, no, you have to look at the light. Go towards the light. No, Carol Ann, don't go towards it. Like, what is it? What is it? What are you supposed to do with the light? It just seemed like it kept waffling back and forth. And I didn't understand what was going on. I was kind of checking out at the end there.
I actually forgot if the light was bad on this like viewing too. And I was like, wait a minute, are they supposed to go towards the light? Because I remember it changed, but then even I was confused on like my 100th viewing in this movie. Danny, what did you think?
About the light?
Or that entire kind of clairvoyant upside down rope scene?
I definitely agree with you. It is a bit confusing, but I kind of loved that character though. I like the actress a lot. I thought she's just odd. Mm-hmm. Her delivery, her voice. There's something creepy about her that I loved. There's a great moment where they're at the top of the stairs. And it's like a nice little one shot that they do where each character kind of steps up and they're looking at the ceiling, talking to Carol Ann, before they go into the room. I don't know. I just really loved that setup. I think visually inside of that room, the spectral light being shot across the room through the closet door and the rope scene, it looked incredible. Like I was visually like, this is some awesome stuff. But it does get a little bogged down. There's so much shouting, especially when the medium tells her like, don't go towards the light when they're outside, but they're in there yelling at her to do it. It is getting a little bit muddy, but honestly, I was just kind of like visually struck at that moment.
It's cool to see that like on their monitors too. Like if they're wondering if they recorded it, and you can see like the VHS tapes interpretation of what they filmed, like the orbs kind of just like appearing.
Yeah.
There was a comment in chat about how like she really didn't do anything. She like made it worse. And on the way to our trip with Jonesy and Proto, we listened to that podcast episode about the Exorcist trainer. Do you remember that?
Oh,
Were you paying attention? Were you sleeping during that episode?
No, I was listening. Yeah.
We listened to this podcast. What is the name of that podcast? Stories with Sapphire. We listened to Talking Possession with an Exorcist trainer, Adam Bly. So this is like a paranormal podcast we listened to on the trip. And it was about this lay person that trains exorcists in the Catholic Church. And he sounded like legit, like really legit. I mean, how often do you hear someone talk about Catholic Church exorcisms? This was probably the most exhaustive one I've ever heard. And he talks about how he doesn't like the TV ghost hunting shows because they're almost like this character from Poltergeist. Like they come in, they make things worse. They don't know actually what they're dealing with. So he went hard into like people that are almost kind of like in purgatory versus actual demons or like Satan trying to trick you into getting you into the dark side or, you know, whatever you call it. I thought it was a pretty fascinating episode, to be honest.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Also, how he was saying that a lot of the people who do these ghost hunts actually have, you know, issues later on. Like, you know, we're just seeing what's presented on the TV, but he's like, no, I've met a lot of these people and they get effed up from doing these ghost hunts. And then also, I thought the funniest thing is like, you're listening to this, you know, anybody's listening to this because they're like fascinated with this kind of stuff and ghosts and, you know, what have you is on the other side. And his recommendation was not to ghost hunt, but to go home and pray for the dead. I'm just thinking like, thanks, buddy. You're like, instead of ghost hunting, I should, sit at home at night and pray. Okay.
5 p.m. every night, just pray for those that have not gone to the other side. Yeah, Jonesy was up front as we were driving and we were talking about ghost hunting, and he kept, every time he made a comment about to never ghost hunt, he just gave me a side eye. He's like, we're never, you want us to ghost hunt? We're never ghost hunting after what he just said. I think that is honorable mentions time and rating.
Time?
Danny?
Let me see my honorable mention. Flushing a bird down a toilet.
Oh,
who does that? Is that a... Let me just do bugs.
That thing would clog that toilet, right? That's a big bird.
Craig doing Donald Duck noises, and her response was, I love when you talk dirty. That got me good. And then kissing through the spectral light. I had an amazing time watching this film. It has its moments of kind of, you know, slow and bogged down the storyline, but it's exactly what I'd hoped it was. So I'm going to give it 4.5 stars.
4.5 stars.
I mean, we didn't talk about Spielberg either, but there was that a whole Spielberg, Tobe Hooper drama with directing. And I watched a lot of the behind the scenes stuff, and Tobe Hooper directed this film, but Spielberg is on his ass the entire time. So I can understand how when you watch like Texas Chainsaw and you have that version of Tobe, and then you have this mainstream Amblin-esque film and it is very Spielberged out, it's probably because it looked like Spielberg wasn't giving him an inch to be the horror director that he actually is. That's what it definitely felt like. So on paper, he directed this film. He was there for every shot, but also so was Spielberg.
Right. The movie starts out with, I mean, does this happen often, a Steven Spielberg production that he has not directed?
Yeah. I mean, he has a bunch of stuff he's produced, but like Back to the Future, Gremlins, all that kind of stuff. But also those kind of guys, those directors have gone on and continued to be mainstream hits, but Tobe didn't. So I feel like a lot of the fallout was they probably really didn't work well together.
I think there's like alleged stories. We can't be sued. I'm saying alleged. There was like alleged.
I want Spielberg to sue me. I mean, I would love for that letter to come in the mail.
I'd be banned from seeing The Fabelmans because of a comment I made on a Poltergeist podcast. Like in wrestling, pro wrestling parlance, if someone was addicted to drugs, they would be saying that they had demons to fight. They were fighting demons back then. So on set, there was like, I think Tobe was fighting demons around this time where he was kind of a mess. That's like the urban legend. Who knows if that's real? I mean, he also went on to do other things. He did Texas Chainsaw Massacre 2, Life Force, Salem's Lot, which I would love to do at some point on this podcast.
Yeah. I mean, I watched a more recent interview with Hooper. It seemed like if there was something to talk about, he has nothing really ever to hide anymore. I mean, it's not like he's not young in his career anymore. And if there was something issues with Spielberg, or I feel like he would have either hinted at it, but he really just kind of talked favorably on enjoying the filming of Poltergeist and working with Steven and stuff. So I don't honestly know. And I feel like it was just probably Spielberg being in there and on his ass the whole time for a movie that Spielberg wrote.
On his ass. Salem's Lot came out in 1979. That was another movie that I think I'd watched years after and that I thought was pretty spooky. Another Simpsons parody scene where the kid's flying out the side of the window. The ASMR, my honorable mentions, the ASMR of them in the bathtub with the ectoplasm is gross.
Ugh.
It's so gross hearing that jello move around.
Did you have headphones on watching this movie?
I didn't, but it was loud enough for me
Holy
to get
moly.
freaked out. Dolly shot. Oh yeah, when she tries to save her kids in the hallway. Amazing shot. That's another thing.
Banger.
I love that she is essentially responsible for saving her kids. It's not
Yeah.
Craig T. Craig T does not come to save the day. My queen, JoBeth, is responsible for saving her kids, and she does it. That whole scene is awesome. I'm still at 4 stars for Poltergeist. I still have a lot of fun watching this. I
Yeah.
think the like upside down stuff kind of just bores me a little bit. I don't know if it's just the amount of times I've seen it at this point, but this particular viewing, 4 stars. Pardon?
Yeah, the elongated hallway scene with the JoBeth running down, I love that as well. That might have been my favorite shot of the movie. Another funny moment is when Carol Ann is feeding the goldfish and just like is dumping all the food in there. You know, it has like no relation to the story. It's just kind of like one of those one-off weird scenes again. Yeah, I had when he says you only move the headstones, why? I was waiting for his boss just to say, money. Money, of course. But yeah, I had a ton of fun watching this too. It's a good time. I could see myself returning to it. Yeah, at the end, like the story, I guess it doesn't matter so much that it doesn't all make sense, right? Because you're there for the effects and whatnot. So I give it 3 stars.
3 stars for Poltergeist.
Definitely feels like you could just throw it in the Halloween rotations every year. And
Oh,
have
yeah,
a good time
for sure.
watching it.
Easy. I mean, how awesome is it too to like having a total mental breakdown and then be offered a better house on top of a hill to try to like keep you at your job?
Yeah. That house, obviously it still exists, but when they were filming, it had just been built, so no one owned it yet. So they did all the exterior filming, and the guy that owns it is still the original owner of that house that lives there now. And that shot on the hill with like the plots being laid out, the like cement floors, that's an actual neighborhood now. Like that was legit being built.
Oh, wow.
It looked like the Arrested Development lot from one of those seasons.
Yeah.
Yeah.
There was a ton of houses. Like it almost looked claustrophobic with the amount of houses on that view from down the hill.
How about the music? We didn't talk about the music. What a score too.
Who did the music?
Goldstein.
Goldstein at it again.
Mm-hmm.
The gold standard. Gosh, I really want to do Salem's Lot now.
Oh my gosh.
It's on Shudder right now.
Whoa, is this an audible?
Are you pivoting now?
No,
a live pivot?
No, I'm not pivoting.
Wasn't Salem's Lot a TV show?
Salem's Lot was a TV movie. Yeah, I think it was like 2-parter.
TV movie.
184 minutes.
184 minutes.
Yeah.
Mamma
TV
mia.
movies. Ever heard of them? Classic. There was a Salem's Lot 2. They did a Salem's Lot remake. This falls into like the It TV show for me, like of like weird TV horror that was probably spooky at the time, but maybe not anymore.
Yeah. The new one was supposed to come out this month. Pullman's son was in it.
That's
The
right. It got
remake.
delayed or something?
Delayed till April.
Is that going to be on an app or is that a theater thing?
It may be a Netflix, John, actually.
All right, that is the first movie for HAUNTVEMBER. Successful.
We're off to a good start.
We're off to a big start this month. Halloween Ends is like real close.
So close.
We are
Honestly,
so
keep forgetting
close.
about it.
All right, it's time for my pick. I'm up next for HAUNTVEMBER, and we were chatting in person. You guys were like, I asked you what you thought I was going to pick. And both of you almost like simultaneously said Hereditary. But it's not. We're not ready yet for Hereditary on this show. We need more time.
Not ready.
Maybe another year. Okay.
Yeah.
So my picks for this past, I don't know, my past 3 or 4 picks have tried to be a little outside of the box, less white, pretty much. I saw a horror movie maybe a few years ago that I loved. It's on Netflix. Came out 2020. Everyone can watch this. Everyone has a Netflix. His House.
Yeah.
From Remy Weeks. After making a harrowing escape from war-torn South Sudan, a young refugee couple struggles to adjust to their new life in a small English town that has an unspeakable evil lurking beneath the surface.
Goodness.
So this is on Netflix. You know Mikey P, executive producer of the movie Mixtape Podcast?
Mhm.
Heard of him.
5
Yeah.
stars
Oh
from
my
Mikey
gosh.
P. Yeah.
Beautiful.
Shot
my
beautifully,
gosh.
amazing performances, great score. What a movie.
It's happening.
So that's some high praise. How about KK,
movie.
who
Tell us.
force major'd a Tintin episode
Yeah.
on us? 3
Did we
stars
forget?
from KK.
3 stars.
Yeah,
Death
3
sentence.
stars. Could be a death sentence.
It's over.
So I'm excited to rewatch. I've removed my rating, I think. In advance, I did Miles Sly rating removal for this.
Self-removal.
Self-remove job.
Excuse me.
So I'm excited to rewatch. And for those listening live, we're recording early next week. It'll be Tuesday night. So His House on Netflix. Fire it up. Let's watch it together for HauntVember. 93 minutes.
Beautiful. Beautiful.
But we're already in 4-star territory for Proto. It's any time of that length, it's hovering around that area. Proto, any closing thoughts for HauntVember?
Closing thoughts for HauntVember. Not yet. I'm going to save my thoughts for next week.
We'll see everybody next week for His House on Netflix. $70mm is a tape deck production featuring original artwork provided by Danny Haas. Spiritual guidance and V'ger, the robot who loves movies, provided by Pertalexis. Producer at large Dale_A. Transcripts provided by Sophie Shin and music composed by Cinematric. Prints and other merch are available on 70mmpod.com. This episode was mixed, edited, and produced by me, Slim. Support our Patreon for access to our VHS Village Discord to talk movies with new friends, access to our exclusive episodes in the 70mm vault, discounts on merch, uncut episodes, and a physical membership card mailed to you. To check out other Tape Deck podcasts, find the link in the episode notes. And if you'd like to support our friends at Letterboxd and upgrade to Pro or Patron status, you can do so with a 20% off discount using the links on 70mmpod.com. Goodbye.
This is a Tape Deck podcast.